Hi, and welcome to the Bonsai Escape. Today we're going to work on this gorgeous liquid amber sweet gum tree, and I've had it for 20 years. You can see vigorous growth in it. I did a major trunk chop on this many years ago. Tall tree, cut it down. I'll show you the pictures of that. But over time, it started losing some vigor in the top part of the trunk, and I had to keep reducing that trunk mass to where it is now, and I've started losing some branches. And I think the temperatures and climate in Southern California is really what affected that. Here in Michigan, it has just thrived, going through the dormant periods and the lower temperatures. You know, it's almost 70 something today, mid-spring, and this thing just pushes hard. I repotted it about 3 years ago, and obviously it's very healthy and extremely overgrown. I've got to reduce some of this mass. We're going to do some defoliation on it and see what kind of branch structures we're getting. I haven't really focused a lot on ramification yet because I'm working on getting a thicker main leaders to fill in some of the taper gap between the big trunk and that leaders. But also I've carved out this intersection, which I'll show you some close-ups of. Carved that out because the front of this was pretty much dead. I could peel bark off of it until I was down to the base. So it gives it a really unique feature, but it definitely needs to be trimmed right now and defoliated, just so I can kind of get in and look at the structure. There's no sun in the interior now, so we're going to open that up. All right, so this defoliation process is simply just cutting leaves off. Look how big it is. It's almost too big for bonsai, and this is what the liquid ambers or sweet gum trees kind of look like. The larger scales that we saw a lot in California, they're big shade trees, so the leaves tend to be double this size. Over the years, the leaves, this is probably a full-grown leaf right here on this tree, and a sweet gum leaf is about twice that size. So by defoliating and constantly working the roots and miniaturizing this tree, the leaves are definitely getting smaller. But these large leaves aren't going to cut it for bonsai, and the goal is today to defoliate this tree and see what we have. So I'll fast forward this and you'll have fun watching. When I'm defoliating, I'm cutting at the base of the leaf, leaving this long exposed stem. What will happen over the next month or so, this stem will basically harden off and fall off, and it'll just be a stick again, a branch. So let's continue this process, just one leaf at a time. Sometimes it's so monotonous, I count how many leaves I'm cutting, and I always get lost. Around the 200s. Now the little guys, sometimes I'll let these bloom out just because it is photosynthesizing, give it a little bit of vigor, but this tree is so strong that I don't think I need it. So we'll just keep going with this defoliation process. Now you can see I've got half of the tree defoliated. I've defoliated everything off of this, pretty much off of this top leader, and if we leave it at that stage, can you guess what happens at this point? We've just reduced the energy demand and photosynthesizing characteristics of this branch, this main leader, but we've left the other one, which means we're kind of telling the tree, hey, this other side is much more important. Develop this first, and it's going to continue to photosynthesize and just get thicker. That isn't the goal here. In defoliating, we definitely want to have a goal to do it. We don't just do it because we want to. I needed to get in here and see what was happening with this branch structure. To be honest, I forgot if I had left any wire on. This tree grows so fast, I'll get wire bite quickly. But you can see that's starting to get defoliated. I'm going to continue with this lower branch because I don't want to encourage more energy on one side of the tree than the other. What I'll show you here is a difference between what we mean by a leaf that hardens off when it matures and a new leaf. And they're relatively the same size, as you can see. But the darker green one over here is firmer. It has a waxy buildup on it that allows protects the leaf from damage. Whereas this young little guy, it's much flimsier, it's lighter color, and it just doesn't have the rigidity that the other leaf does, the more mature leaf. And so that's what we mean by a leaf that hardens off. And there's different things you want to do when a leaf hardens off. For instance, air layering, defoliating when the leaves are hardened off. And again, on a tree like this that's vigorous, you're going to get a lot that are not hardened off and a lot that are, but that's what the difference is. All right, so we've got this pretty much defoliated. Like I said, I'm going to leave a few little guys on here just to give it a little more head start with filling out. This may sound drastic or seem drastic, the defoliation process, but it's, in this case, it was necessary to get into this interior and see what's going on. I've been heavily fertilizing this just to get as much growth out of these leaders as I can, and I did leave a wire on, but just a guy wire to hold it down, that branch. But with that much fertilization in just this short period of time this spring, it grew tremendously, and I'm starting to see some problems I didn't want to have or that I can correct. For instance, in this area, I've got a branch that's growing in next to the other branch. So again, I probably never would have seen that until the fall when I lose everything, but I'm going to cut that off, get rid of that guy. And now I need to really start thinking about ramification, and this tree is starting to get there. I definitely want to cut back on some of these guys. This branch has come off its leader. I'm going to cut it all the way back to probably this emerging bud. Cut this new growth off. Give a little bit of, and now we've got a new bud that's coming out here, which is going to give it some of that ramification. I've got a lot of new buds coming out here, so what I'm probably going to do is cut back to here. I might even go all the way back to this spot since we do have a bud coming out of the top. This guy is getting long. I need to get this thing pulled back probably go all the way back to here as well. So I got a new bud coming out. I have some on the bottom. We'll cut those off later. We got some movement there. Definitely going to cut this guy back to here, and I'll probably just wait to wire this down in the fall or winter. I can do some wiring now. What I found though, when it's growing this vigorously, that it bites in pretty good. I got to check wires a lot, and when it fills out, this will take about a month to start filling out. By mid to end of June, we'll probably have a full tree again. So I don't want to wire it right now because I'll have to get back in there. I've got some interesting stuff going on down here. Liquid ambers tend to be somewhat flexible, so I can probably get some wire on this later on this year. But I am going to cut this leader back. Maybe I might even eliminate the lower one that's coming down, just to help get some ramification. And we cut this guy. This guy looks good. I do need to cut this guy back. I'm going to cut it back to here. We have some branching coming on there. This is getting pretty straight, so I think I'm going to boom, boom, boom. There's probably some dormancy. Cutting all that off already is going to start producing back budding. You can see it occurring right here in the tree. I'll let that guy go for now. I might want to reduce it. I'll check that later on. This is the one that's kind of bothering me, this lower branch coming down. I don't think it's that big a problem. I'm probably not going to wire it to the side because it is a downward facing branch, but it does fill in this lower section area. They've got a branch coming out straight, so I'm definitely going to cut this guy off here. Let's give it a shot. So I have two now forking, and this might keep developing a branch. I might actually cut that off all the way. Now I've got the fork instead of 3 branches coming out. That'll be a nice split. This one here, again, I'm not sure what I want to do with this guy at the bottom, but I am going to cut it down. Why don't we just cut it off here? Give myself a little bit of dieback to that branch. This one is another downward hanging, which is why I left that one. Kind of fits the model of that. We'll definitely cut this guy back though to here. Just reducing this girth that we were getting with that flush. Now, I don't mind necessarily reducing this side too much. It's this one that I really want to encourage thickness to. I am going to start cutting some of this stuff off the top. This is all this year's growth, but I've got a pretty good established branch here that I can lose and shorten that canopy. That'll help getting some sunlight into the canopy as well. I'm going to let this keep extending. This might actually just be a sacrifice down the road just to help thicken this even more. Short, short. Those will come off. Here's one I want to change. This is getting to be really long, almost too long. I'm going to cut it back to here. You can see that I did have a dieback on one branch, this guy, and so it's always important to leave a little bit extra. Leave a little extra in case it does die back. This guy's getting out long out here, so let's just cut him. See where that bud's emerging. Okay. We got one coming underneath here that might be viable, so we'll see. Now this branch is getting long. This one's interesting. I'm questioning whether I want to reduce this one off completely because it is going back in toward the trunk line. Not really what I want, but then I do have some little buds coming out right here. that will be good side branches that can eliminate this guy. So I might get my branch cutters and cut that one off. That'll open up the interior a lot and help produce some growth back to these buds that are coming out. This guy's getting pretty long. Yeah, I want to shorten that one up. I think we'll just go back. I like to do little steps at a time. This may not be enough. I might want to come back even further to this branch here, just to get that ramification. I don't want too much straight. We've got a break there, we've got a break there, so that will be probably pretty good. This one, we'll probably just let that develop for now until I get some new branching off of it. And so already you can see the silhouette has reduced itself tremendously. The goal now is thickness of this branch and this base, the taper, probably carve this out again in the winter time a little bit more. Keep developing this. You can see I have a pretty significant wire bite mark here. That was from not defoliating last year and letting it grow and forgetting about I had wire on there, which is why I'm doing this now, because I couldn't remember if I wired it or not. This one's getting pretty long on the bottom. We need some movement in this, so I wanted to shoot out the other way. Let's go with this cut right here. Good. This one will be fine for now. It's kind of competing with these two branches, and it may not really be an ideal branch overall for this tree, but it'll help thicken this one, so that may be something we sacrifice later. But now we've got a pretty wide open canopy. I do want to get some movement out into this side of the tree. Actually, this is kind of my desired front, and so it's leaning forward. This branch is leaning toward me. I'm getting some of this side development, and again, this one kind of screws things up, so I'll probably eliminate that. We'll get some wire cutters and chop that off, because I do have those new buds coming out. Now with the sun in there, we're going to get a lot more of it. I think I am going to do that. She's gone. I can probably should think about rooting that, but I have enough trees. Let's clean this cut up a little bit. And a cut that big, definitely gonna put some cut paste on it. Cover that guy up. Some cut paste. I didn't do that with all the other ones. They were significantly smaller cuts. And I haven't found that these liquid ambers bleed like a maple will this time of year. So that's a good thing. But I just do that to protect it. It's a good size cut. And you can already see the difference with that branch gone, which was coming up right here, really crowding out that interior part. And like I said, we have new buds coming out on the sides, which will get us fill in this area, and hopefully I can get something coming off of this as well, but that should work really well. And I think that's it for now. And if you are wondering, I didn't count how many leaves I was cutting off. It was a pretty significant amount though. Now it's just a matter of getting some ramification, which is the main reason I did this, just to make sure we had energy going where we wanted it, not into useless branches, and you know, starting to look at kind of a good design concept. All right, I will update you all on this tree in about a month when it fills out.